What if you didn't just want to book out a trainer for a 1 hour slot, or you didn't want to join a class like a one-to-one or a group class or something like that? For cardio and weight training. What if you actually wanted to like book out the venue, or maybe even book out a session with the trainer for 2 days, 5 days, right? And you might have many people coming along, or you might only have one or two people, but basically you want to do like a booking. So this is where the Jet Booking plugin comes into its own. We've been using Jet Appointments if you've been watching the previous videos in this series, whereby you would book an appointment slot. But now we're going to explore booking it for a longer period. So you could imagine booking out a car for a car rental site, booking out a room in a hotel, booking out apartments. But in this scenario, we've got trainers for cardio, weight training, aerobics. Let me now explore the opportunity for you to book out that trainer for that class for longer periods. So let's go and install the Jet Bookings plugin. Go to Plugins, Add New, Upload Plugin, and install Jet Booking. Then go over to Bookings and go to Setup. The Setup wizard will ask you to decide on plain mode or WooCommerce based. Now, there is a bit of a difference here. If you go for the WooCommerce, and I will select it just to show you what would happen, and I hit Start Setup, that's basically it. Then what you would do is you would then go and create your first booking product, and your booking product is actually then created within WooCommerce products over here. So watch this. If I go to create first booking product, we're now in WooCommerce products because we've got WooCommerce installed as well. So you would go and create your product. So it might be like a venue hire. So let me just go and do that. I will go and pop in venue hire. I would then obviously put a description in. I would go and decide on the prices. Is it a price per day, night? So I might say it's going to be like $1,200. You could add in seasonal prices as well. So you might have a more expensive price for summer breaks or Christmas week or something like that. You can go and add in your schedules with what days are available. So what days must you check in? So maybe you can only check in on a Monday and you can only check out on a Friday. So you must be booking like from Monday to Friday. And are you only going to allow week-long bookings, for instance, as well? Minimum days, maximum days. So it is quite versatile in what you can do. But have you noticed that throughout, nowhere am I adding in my custom post type or these sessions, which is our post type there? Nowhere. So this is like a very simple way of you adding in a booking system whereby you can allow them to book venues, etc. The purpose of why we've added it, though, is because we want to use it with our existing post type sessions. So you could either have a 1 hour slot, which is Jet Appointments, or with Jet Booking, you could maybe book them out for 2 or 3 days. So what we're going to do is go back over to bookings. We're going to go over to setup and we're going to reset the data. Now, I'm not bothered because I'm not creating any products or anything like that yet. So instead of going for the WooCommerce based route, which is simple and easy to do if that's how you want to do it, because you're not creating a custom post type. You're just going to create a booking system and you're going to go and create your products, okay? Venue hire, DJ hire, car hire, room hire. That's what you want to do. But if you've got a post type, you really want to be going for the plain mode and hit Start Setup. Now, the first thing you want to do is go and select your post type, which in this scenario is sessions like that. Then hit Next Step. Now, just pause for a moment, because it will now say order post type, and a lot of you may suddenly jump in and go, well, I'll pick sessions again. In actual fact, we don't want to do that. I'm actually going to use the WooCommerce basic integration because we're going to ensure that when you are paying for it, you go and hit the cart or the checkout. So I'm going to hit Next Step now. Then we get the option to go and add additional fields. And again, this is quite important because if you follow the Jet Appointments videos that we've done, you are limited as to what you will be able to show on the form. And I think it's a good idea to collect some further information. So we're going to go with, not just collect, but also show. So I'm going to go with total cost. We're going to go with a 10 Ds as well. And I'm keeping everything in lowercase. And I'm going to go for the name as well. And then I'm going to hit Next Step. Don't worry about the order of them. We can rearrange that later on. And all you got to do now is hit Finish Setup. Just like Jet Appointments, once you've gone through the setup, now go over to Settings. I'm not going to change anything on the general tab. I won't change anything on the label either. You can do if you want. So if you feel like you don't like the word chosen or even sold out or, expired, you could put something else in there, expired, not available. You could refine it to work for you. In the advanced tab, I will enable iCal synchronization. And I'm going to change it to be once hourly as well, which is not a bad idea if you want to ensure that you've got your own calendar system elsewhere. Because if you're not logged into WordPress all the time, you want to make sure that if there are bookings occurring, you are notified or you're made aware of it, especially if you want to prevent double bookings. The configuration tab is quite important. If you're booking a hotel room or a cruise or, you're staying over somewhere, per night makes absolute sense. But in this scenario, because we may be booking a venue or some training sessions, per day is the perfect choice. Are we going to only allow them to book you for one day at a time? Or can they book multiple days? If you go with this and you book them for a Monday, you can't say, well, Monday to Tuesday. It can only be Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Or are you going to allow them to pick multiple days? Let's just pretend and go for multiple days. Maybe they can only book you for an entire week. Probably overkill for cardio, right? But if you want to do that again, and this again is something that can be really useful for, say, certain venues where it's a really exclusive venue and you want to really maximize the revenue you get out of it. So if you want it, you got to have it for a 7-day period. You can also specify the minimum days and the maximum. Of course, I'm just going to pop in one, so it's got to be 1 day, which obviously it would be. But in terms of maximum, let's just go and pop in 10 days, just so that we can see it in practice. So you got to be 1, but you cannot do more than 10. What about the scheduling? And again, this is something that pretty much intuitively makes sense, really. If we are going to say, are there any days off? Let's just go and add in the 23rd until 1st of 2024, and we're going to go and hit save there. So this is something that I think a lot of places commonly do. There may be periods where you're not available, or you've got a booking from another system maybe, and now you want to because you might have done it manually over the phone or email, so you want to put it in, or you're just not around. We're going to go over to the Tools tab, and I'm just going to rearrange these fields, not that it makes a huge amount of difference. So name, total cost, and attendees, which is what we've got here. So this is where in the setup, we went and added 3 extra fields. You could, if you want, go and add in some new ones now. So if you didn't do it on the setup, you can do it here. But I always say, go through the setup first, because that's why it's called setup, and then just double check and do further refinement in the settings tab. Now, if you click on bookings within the bookings part, you're going to have nothing there because we've not added anything in yet. Now, very similar to what we did with Jet Appointments, if you haven't watched it, go watch that video. You will have the facility to either have like a static booking form, which means you could put it anywhere on your website, and then the user would then select their session type. It might be cardio, it might be weight training, etc. Or you could put it on a single post template, and I'm going to go with the single post template. So we're going to go over to JetEngine, and we're going to go over to forms. It does say here static page booking form. You can almost ignore that because that was actually from the Jet Appointments plugin. But we are now going to create a new one, which will be for the booking. It's very simple and easy for you to actually just duplicate one of your existing ones, which is what I've done. And I'm going to go in and rename it. So we have single service booking form. And let's now go and edit that. So I'm going to go to the single service booking form. Now, a lot of the fields on here, we're going to jig around because some of the IDs are now no longer the same. Now, the service ID we're going to leave because that's the single post template. You've gone and clicked and now you're on that particular page. The appointment date is a little bit misleading. This is only relevant for Jet Appointments. So you want to click the pencil and you want to go to the type. We need to go for check-in, check-out dates. Even if you're only booking for 1 day, it's going to be the same day, right? So you've got to make sure it's a check-in, check-out. We'll have a single field. If you want to have them separated with check-in, check-out, the way it presents it, you can go for that. I'm quite okay with a single field, just to keep things quite concise. I'm also going to say it is an inline. You do have the option for going for a list. I'm going to say check-in. And I'm going to say checkout. Now for the date format, you do have various options. Because I'm based in the UK, I'm going to go for DMY. I'm going to leave it as hyphen as the field separator, and I'm going to say the first day of the week is Monday. You are limited to your options, Monday or Sunday, but in the UK, we tend to go with week commencing Monday. Now, because we've used the appointment date field, it says appointment date. Now, if you did not have Jet Appointments, you may have something like underscore date showing there. And if it has that, I would leave it as that. But because I had appointment date, I'm modifying it to say underscore date. And I'm going to pop the label in for check in and then backslash or forward slash out. And then I'm going to hit apply changes. So we now have service ID and we have check in and checked out. The name field over here is actually a custom field. And again, please go and watch the Jet Appointments if you're not sure. So I had three additional fields, which were name, attendees, and total cost. So let's go to the name one first. Check that the name ID over there is the same as what we had put in, which it is. So we can leave that as it is there. The user email will already be provided for you on the booking form. The phone number, now that is someone we actually did miss out. So now that I'm aware of it, what I'm going to do is go over to my bookings, go over to my settings, go to my tools, and I'm going to add in a new field. So I'm going to call this a phone. And then I'm going to say update booking table. So that is now added in. Because otherwise, you're going to get a bit of a mismatch and an error going on there. Let's go back over to JetEngine, go over to forms, and let's go back to our booking form. We've got cost, which we know is no longer called cost. So I'm going to change that to be total cost like that. And I'm going to change the description as well. Now, at the moment, our calculation field is pulling back appointment date. Because remember, this is a copy of the Jet Appointment one. Instead, what we want to go for is the booking macro. So not the appointment macro, which is what that is. We want to go for this one. So we're going to copy this and we're going to paste that over there. Let's go and add in our attendees field as well. So add new field. I'm going to change this to be a number. We're going to say the minimum value is 1 and the maximum value is 100. And I'm going to hit apply changes there. I'm going to lift this field up and I'm going to put it above the total cost. In fact, I might rearrange this a little bit. So we'll go with attendees, will sit underneath check-in and check-out, and then we'll have the costs like that. And then obviously you then pop in your details. Now we're going to go back to the total cost one though, because we've now just gone and said that you can have number of attendees. So we're now going to go and pop in an asterisk to say multiplied by, and I'm going to type in attendees over there. So if our price was say $1,000 a day, and you've got 10 people coming, it's now $10,000 for that same day because you've got 10 attendees multiplied by the total cost. Or is it going to be a total cost for the venue regardless of how many attendees there are? So you have a choice to make. For simplicity, I'm going to say that if you're booking out the venue, it's not per person. It's almost like you're paying per day in a way, which is what we already said. One thing you do need to change though on here is it currently says check in, check out. And again, it's really easy to go, right, that's it. So check in, check out. Remind yourself though that when you go up, you did not call it check in, check out. Don't look at that. Look at what it says here. It is underscore date. So what you need to do is go back over to your cost field and ensure that this says date like that. Because if you don't do that, you will make a mistake and you'll assume it basically hasn't got anything to calculate against. So apply changes. Yeah, so that's the calculation you add. It gives you it, you copy it in, and then modify it to be what is the actual date field that you're pulling through. Now we do have insert appointment over here. We're going to change that. So we're going to click the pencil, and rather than insert appointment, we're going to go for apartment booking. I know it sounds kind of weird, right? Apartment booking, but you're doing a training session at a venue, but that's the terminology that's being used. Leave it as that. I'm going to select the service ID because that's what you've already selected by going to the single post template. If you were to have another field on there that had like the trainer name and you had a select box or a radio button, you could go and add that field in here. But the select ID for the service ID not select ID. The service ID makes complete sense. The check-in and check-out date will be the underscore date field. Again, if you forget, just scroll up and you will see it over there, underscore date. I'm going to ensure that we now have a one-to-one relationship with the fields in the database, so these should all match. We are going to enable WooCommerce integration. The price that will feed into the cart and checkout will be the total cost. Let's just click WooCommerce order detail setup. So this is where you can start to feed through fields that will automatically populate. I'm going to type in name and I'm going to select the name over there. I'm going to add in another form field. This will be the email and I'm going to select the user email. And I'm going to go for another one, which will be form field. And I'm going to select phone and we will go for the phone over there. I'm also going to add in the booked instance number. And this will be session. Now, you don't get a drop down there, so you can pop in whatever words you want. You could say venue booked, class booked, session booked, anything you want. Now, the last item I'm going to add, and you might have noticed it, was the Google Calendar link. This, I think, is pretty useful, and I'm going to put the label and text as add to Google. So when you get the email or the appointment, or the bookings, sorry, you can now add that to your Google Calendar. Let's go and hit save. I will now just tinker with some of these WooCommerce checkout fields. I'm only going to go over and do the phone over there. It's not a bad idea to go and modify the send email now. So where are you going to send the email? Is it going to go to admin, which would be yourself? Is it going to go to the person who's actually gone and booked it? So email from the submitted form. And then you'd go and select user email. I know this is a bit misleading, isn't it? Mail to from field. No, the from bit is actually down here. So if it's now if the email is going to, say, the end user who's completed this, you want it to go to the user email. Don't get misled by what the from field is. Then you're going to pop in your name. What is the email address they can obviously reply to, like a support email or something like that. And then over here, you're going to go and put in your context. You would go and pop in something like dear, and then we'll pick up the name field here. Then you're going to put something like thank you for your appointment. And you've got fields down here, so you could pop in the date. You might say check in, check out, and then you pop that in. You know, total attendees, total cost, for instance. And you have a range of other fields here as well. My advice is play around with it, you know, and then do like a test booking, you know, go and put in a value of $0 or $1, whatever, and check that everything goes through your payment gateways. You get an email, they get an email. So you would have to probably set up like a couple of emails there. You know, send email to the customer, send email back to yourself as well. Right, I'm just going to apply changes there. What you may also want to do, and I would recommend you do this, is add a notification but redirect to a page. And it might be something that says thank you, or it might be an upsell, or it might just take them to some other part of your website. But a thank you page, or just to let them know what is going to happen next. For instance, we will be in contact. You will get an email. Please check your junk spam email. There's nothing worse than when you do a booking and it says it's done. And then you sit there, an hour goes by and you go, well, I haven't had any notification. Did it actually go through properly? So bit of a key thing I would recommend with a redirect page. So that has all been updated. And yes, there is a bit of legwork there. Now, there is a facility, though, whereby when you are first using JetBooking, it does give you the option to use JetForm Builder, and it does install that for you. That means that you can build the form step by step to look how you want in a much funkier way. And in a future video, I will cover that. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, I'm just using the JetEngine Forms feature that is enabled for us there when we install JetEngine. Now let's go and add in some further details, okay? Because all we've done is enable loads of fields and we've put them on the form. But we actually haven't said what the prices are. So I'm going to go over to sessions, to where we have our sessions, and I'm going to go to extreme weights. If I now scroll down, you will see additional fields have become activated. We had the original fields with where you could select your trainer and your descriptions and images. And then we had the Jet Appointment, which we're not using now because this is focusing on Jet bookings. So you will get to pricing settings. This is what is relevant for the booking. So we're going to go in and say that if you were now booking for weight training, you could get it for $500 per day. Remember, it's been set per day. But you could, if you want, add in additional prices. So if I was to go with add rates, I can now add in different rates. So I might say, if you book for 1 day, it's $500. If, however, you book for 2 days, you get it for $480 per day. So the total cost would be $960 because you get $40 discount, 480 times 2. right? That's $20 off per day, $40 off for 2 days. Let's go and do a bit more. So we're going to say if you do it for 3 days, you will get it for 460. If you do it for 4 days, you get it for 440. And if you go for 5 days, you get it for 420. So there's like discounts are being built in. And when you hit cancel, you return back to the screen. Don't worry, they are all still there. You could also add in a weekend rate as well. So you might say if they book you on a Saturday, the price actually is higher because of the Saturday. So you might go with, say, 600. And if they decide to book you on a Sunday, then the prices go up even more and it's now £700 per day. So you're kind of saying, look, I'm available, I'm willing to be there for you, but the prices do start to go up. What about seasonal prices? I'm just going to go with October 31st and I'm going to say the price for that day is $2,000. I don't know why, for some reason, there's something special going on there. And that is the particular day where you have to pay a premium. So I'm going to say the start date for that is on the 31st and it ends on the 31st as well. And you can add in more prices as much as you want. You can set up a custom schedule. Now, I'm saying you can check in and check out on any of these dates. What if there is more than one weight training? So we've got extreme weights here, okay? And, at the minute, there's one class. But maybe there are like 2 rooms wherever this venue is. So you could then say, right, we've got 2 venues, for instance, like that. And then I click add unit and what you'll get is venue 1 and venue 2. I could go and edit them. Venue large room, venue medium deluxe sauna room. Sounds really weird, but you can name them. So if you were going to have additional venues, you could do. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want to have additional venues. So imagine you're like a hotel and you got like 40 rooms and you go and set your price for a particular type of room, but then you've got 40 units. So when someone books within your booking system, you'll get to see what rooms are being booked. So you know that, okay, we're selling this room, and we've got 40 available maybe, which ones are booked up and which ones are not. So as part of our sessions for extreme weights, we've now gone and set our pricing up. And I've only done it for one of them because that's the one we're going to show in the tutorial. What I'm now going to do is actually add the booking form to the template. So we're going to go over to templates, saved templates, and we're going to click all. Always a good idea to do that. And we're going to go to our sessions single post template. I'm going to hit edit with Elementor. I'm going to scroll down to where we have our form, which was for the appointments. Now, to keep things really, really simple, I am going to just hide this form out of view. And instead, I'm going to go and type in book. And you will now see booking availability calendar. So what we have here is the booking availability calendar. This can be stylized quite a bit, allow them to select the date, obviously. It does say scroll to the form. I'm going to enable that because at the moment we haven't actually added in a form. So please don't be misled. Okay, you've added in the calendar. I pick my dates and away I go. That's not exactly how it works. I'm also just going to go down to my settings very quickly and I'm going to ensure that I am on the extreme weights. And when you look at this, you'll notice not all of the dates are enabled. Please don't worry about that. It's not until you actually view it on a live screen, because even when you go to preview, it won't properly show it to you. So when you look at it, you're going to go, well, where's all the dates gone? Don't worry too much about that just yet. What we can do though is start modifying some of the style. We could go and give it a background color. You can modify the headers in terms of the text, the sizing, the colors. And when you click on some of the days, so if I go over to days, if we go down to where we have the days part here, we go down to where we have background start and end, and I could go and give it a background color like that. So if I show you this on preview at the moment, there we have our booking form. And today is currently with a black background and a white text. I've set it up like that. If I was to go, okay, I'm now going to book from a Monday to Thursday, it does that, but that's it. Nothing else has returned for me. And this is where we now have to add in the form. All we've done is added in the calendar. So let's go back over to our widget list and we are going to type in form. Very much like the JetAppointment one, we're going to pick this up and drop it in underneath. So I've moved the new form to sit below the calendar. Don't worry about this one here that is grayed out. Let's just go and give this a bit of spacing. So we'll go for about 30, and you know what, let's just go with 30 at the bottom. Let's go to our content. And for our form, I'm going to type in book, and I should have there the single service booking form. Remember, don't get confused with the static form. That was from the appointment one, which is why it's always a good idea to rename them. single service booking form, and that will now bring out a lot of those fields. I'm going to change my layout to go from column to row, just because it's a little bit more concise. I'm going to go over to my style, and I'm not going to make much changes over here other than maybe messing around with the row to be a 10. The labels I will drop down to be an REM1. I will decrease the width to be a 20 on the, in fact not 20, that's a bit too small. We'll go with the 23 on the label. I will centrally align the labels as well. And for the submit button, I'm just going to give it a background color, go for a white text. I will have no border and just a bit of spacing like that on the button. And I'm going to just align it to be on the right-hand side. Now you could make this form be as wide as you want. So I could quite easily go into the form, go over to my advanced tab, and I could, if I want, go with say a full width like that, or I could go to the field setting in style and I could just mess around with the width here where you do start to push it out. But I will leave that up to you as to what kind of look you want to go for. I mean, I would really say that if you were going to do something like this and your form was only going to be so wide, I would definitely say you want to customize the width of this to kind of match up with that, because it just looks so much better if things are a little bit more consistent. Let's now go and hit update. So let's see this in action now. We go over to our website. We're going to go for extreme weights after we've done a bit of filtering. And when we scroll down to where we have the booking part, we've got the dates. Now, if I go for the 16 to the 16, it should come back with $500. And also it will jump down. Remember we said scroll to the form. Look, if I do that, can you see how it scrolled down? Now, sometimes that's not a good idea. And this is why I wanted to show it to you. Because what if you then realize, actually, I want to change the date? You have to scroll back up. So I would actually say, on your booking availability, don't scroll to the form. That's just my tip. I think it's a great feature to have. But if imagine you pick a date and it now says $1,000 and you go, oh, I wonder what other dates they are. You don't want to keep going up and down. That's not a great user experience. So after doing that change and I now pick it, can you see how it didn't scroll? It's like less movement up and down. $500. Well, okay, let's say I don't want to go for that day. I want to go for a Sunday instead. It's now 700. It's not 1,000, it was 700 we set it at. But if I was to go with a Monday, and then and there you go, that's the Monday date. But I now pick Monday and go for Tuesday, it's 960. Do you remember the day rate? It goes down to 480. And if you then eventually go for, say, no, let me do that properly again, sorry. You go from Monday to Friday, it's 2,100 instead of 500 per day. So 500 per day would have been $2,500. So you can see the discounts kicking in there. And then obviously you would go and pop in your attendees. Now, if you had changed the formula to be attendees, the price calculation multiplied by the attendees field, it would then multiply that price by the number of attendees. But it depends on, are you charging per person per day, or are you saying, here's the total package cost? And then you go and pop in your name and any other fields you've allowed them to have, and then you hit book now. And then when they do that, it takes them over to the cart page. And you can see here, extreme weights, we've got loads of details coming in, add to Google, that will all be within the email, $2,100. This is just a fake page where I've just set up a direct bank transfer just to show you that the payment gateways, everything follows through. You hit place order, and then it will, obviously go through and you get your emails. There's a lot that you can do with the Jet booking. You just got to make sure you go through it methodically. And I know that sounds easier than it actually is, but you want to go through the settings. You then want to decide if it's going to be with WooCommerce or not. You then need to go and build out your form. And that is the part where I say really take your time on what you're pulling through. Now, when I had built this website previously with JetAppointment, it already had an existing form. If you had not installed JetAppointment and you were starting afresh with JetBooking, it would have a standard JetBooking form on there for you. I just regurgitated an old form and just messed around with the fields. But again, take your time and think about what you're going to have come through and always test it out. Do you get the right emails? Are the payments going through your gateway? Are you happy with the flow?